Yes, it's a nice pause here at the start of the Shelter FootyCast. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings to get you through your weekend of footy, round 20 review. G'day, Skeet. How are you, mate?
Scully, great to be here. Yeah, we're getting towards the business end of the season, aren't we? And look, some teams were hot on the weekend. Some teams were like the Perth weather, very cold, including a team we both tipped on Friday night. But yeah, so many machinations for the top 8 and the top 4 still on the table.
Please do not talk to me about the tipping. I'm not in good areas. I haven't been for a long time in the tipping, but it is good fun on this show. The Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. The Southern River Band, of course, playing off the top there. Going to have a chat with the boys from the Southern River Band, maybe across this show or BackChat, one or the other. Cal and the boys over there. Really enjoying their stuff. We're going to have a chat with them. We do this every Monday and Thursday. If you are listening, you can watch us over at YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can listen to us on a podcast. Bit of a West Australian team. We get through West Coast, Fremantle, the rest of the teams. Get through your weekend of footy. Find us on socials, Shelter FootyCast, or send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. We have the Shelter FootyCast Derby preview night at the Federal Hotel coming up, Skate.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
It's on the 12th of August, so 2 Fridays away.
Yes, it should be good. I think there's a pretty big game on that night anyway,
Yes.
so get along to the Federal and support what should be a good night. Footy, bit of chat, a couple of guests, have a shelter, and away we go.
St Kilda Brisbane is the game that night, so we're going to have a bit of a look at that game. We're going to have a couple of little sneaky guests down there.
Yep.
A couple of schooners off the wood down there at the Federal, so it'll be good. Make sure you watch across our socials, across Shelter Socials, and you can find all the details there. Let's get into it, I think, Skate. West Coast, some big issues of the weekend perhaps first. Did you see Jakey Melksham ripping down the jumper on Friday night? What'd you make of that?
Yeah, he pulled it down, and then I think it might have been Petrarca just sort of threw it away on the ground as well. It was a bit of fun, bit of humour, and I didn't mind it.
Were you calling the game?
I was for radio.
So I was watching on TV, and I first saw it, and I just thought, you absolute flog, Jake Melksham. What have you done? No wonder Stevie May belted you. All those things running through my head, right? Because what you could see was just the front of the Freo jumper, like some kid hanging over. Like, settle down, mate. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, about halfway through the game, they bought the reverse angle of Jackson, number 6, an adult holding the jumper. And I thought, I completely went 180 and said, good bloke, Jake Melksham, standing up for his mate, his teammate. And I felt bad. I thought so poorly of Jake Melksham.
It was funny. It was a bit of humour, as you say, once you saw the background of it in context. But funny that, because I was hosting a function prior to going on air, and Brian Taylor came in and was interviewing him. His first comment about Jackson was he said, look, I've been told reliably that Melbourne essentially have given up. Right. They've conceded, it's done, it's dusted, he's leaving. Now, we can only assume that Fremantle are that club that he's going to. I just wonder whether West Coast are just lurking in the background, just maybe having a throw at the stumps at some stage on this.
He's a local boy. It'd be silly not to. You wouldn't want to be paying overs, especially in West Coast situation where they've probably got themselves into some sort of salary cap trouble. Salary cap trouble only gets spoken about when you're not going well, by the way. It's all good to pay your players well if they're playing well and they're winning, but obviously West Coast not doing that at the moment. How was BT? I did an event with him on the Thursday last week. Very, very good value for mine. Is he perky up? Was he just shiny 180?
We only had 5 minutes, and I asked him about the 100 goals that he kicked one year back in the 80s, and,
yes.
And he was fantastic, embellished it all, and obviously it's all about me, not the team. And so it was all good. It was all good humour. But we mentioned West Coast, of course. In the next couple of days, I think it's going to be official. We've thought this for some time, that Josh Kennedy will announce that Adelaide will be his final game. And off the back of that, while it looks like that curtain is closing, that Shannon Hearn, Russell Gibbs declaring in the last 24 hours, and we sort of thought that anyway, that Shannon Hearn likely to go around in 2023.
Yeah, I certainly held the belief that Shannon Hearn would want to go on in 2023. Whether I hold it against the club or not, if they did get rid of him, it doesn't really matter. But I think he's probably earned the right to make the decision.
True.
Some people would disagree with that and say, well, play it doesn't matter, it's a business. You're either required or not. I think he is a required player. Does he play every game next year? This is Shannon Hearn. I don't know if he does. You'd like to think that players underneath him would take his position. Now, I spoke about this on radio on 6PR in terms of devil's advocate would say Shannon Hearn is taking someone else's spot on the list, right? Or not even a spot on the list. Maybe if he's playing every week, a 34, 35-year-old playing when they've got younger guys they need to expose. My answer was, if these young blokes want to take his spot,
earn the spot.
Take it, right? He's been doing this for a long time. He's been consistent. He prepares well. He sets the standard on the track. He recovers well. He's rarely injured. Have a look at what he's doing. Take what he's doing and beat him. There'd be so many players with more talent and more speed and more things than Shannon Hearn has. He's getting old. So there needs to be players that can step up over him. And from what I've seen, there's not, which is an indictment on the young players at West Coast.
Yeah, very true. Just quickly, Josh Kennedy, if he's pulling the pin and a farewell game against Adelaide, why wouldn't he, somebody asked, why doesn't he just play in the Derby the following week? Is it the home game for West Coast where they can put the bells and whistles on it? Is that the only reason?
I think that is a big reason, right? They'll be able to do the big la-di-da and, I don't know, get the Angry Anderson on the back of a convertible driving around I don't know what they'll do, but they'll be able to do a lot more than what they do Freo. I do remember interviewing Sean McManus. Now, I can't remember if it was a home game for West Coast or Freo, but he did speak about how important and how much he remembered the opposition fans and West Coast specifically cheering him off. His last game was a derby. Yep. I wonder, I'm sure the Freo fans would do the same for Josh Kennedy.
Yep.
He's never been a maligned player. He's just been a fair, unbelievable, record-setting goal-kicking player. I think you'd clap him off, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And just one final line on Josh Kennedy and Fremantle. Reliably told in the last 12 to 24 months that there was an overture for Josh to finish his career at Fremantle, which I'm not sure how much thought he gave it.
I think he gave it a little bit. And that was definitely on the cards. Very close with Justin Longmuir, of course, over at Fremantle, who brought Mark LaCroix in to teach them how to kick goals. Debatable how that's gone. Lecker's role in that football club.
At the minute.
Yes, correct. But that was definitely on the table. So I'm glad to see that he's been a 2-club player, didn't become a 3-club player, played most of his time with West Coast. He's been an absolute gun. He retires. Shannon Hearn should go on, and I don't know if West Coast move anyone on. Let's get to the rest of the round. We are on the Shelter FootyCast with Will Schofield, Mark Reddings. Melbourne defeat Fremantle, Friday night footy. We talk about Jake Melksham ripping the jumper down. That's about as close to the Fremantle Football Club got to doing anything likely to Melbourne. They didn't look like it all night.
They were outclassed in the first 5 or 6 minutes. And you, when Melbourne, once that ball was bounced, essentially their guns got rolling. And Jack Viney was an absolute star for them. And even if Oliver was being sort of nullified to some degree, they were just terrific across the board. And they showed us why they're the reigning premiers. I guess from Fremantle's perspective, and you were a bit frustrated by a couple of things which you'll explain, but even watching when they had the ball inside defensive 50 and just moving it from there on in, there didn't seem to be like the transition that has been successful for them previously. Now, whether that's Melbourne denying them that opportunity or whether that was their own cautious approach, I'm not sure.
I asked that directly to Justin Longmuir on Saturday on 6PR, and he answered it. It was both. He said that it was Melbourne are a great team and defended well, but you're always going to say that as an opposition coach. I think more likely it was the ball carrier. And I think it was pretty obvious early that they were coached into doing that. Whether or not they were wary of Melbourne's counter-attack and they weren't sure if their defence could hold up. But going into that game, I would have thought the only way you could beat Melbourne is by taking the game on and putting their defence under pressure. They've only won 3 of their last 8 games or whatever it was. When they get put under pressure, Melbourne, they looked susceptible like anyone else in the competition, but allow them time to set up. May, Lever and these sort of guys. Fremantle just looked dreadful. It looked really like it wasn't embarrassing. I don't like using that word, but they didn't look up to the standard of Melbourne, and it was because they were moving the ball so slowly.
And just quickly, the wet weather, I'm not sure if that was an element which precluded them from being able to do that, but is there anything in the fact that their ability to play in the wet, is that something that is real or a myth?
Well, you'd have to say off time and what's happened that it's real, isn't it? The games they've played in the wet this year, they haven't been able to perform. Is that to do with the way they play? Like they are they are a highly skilled side, and they do rip you apart by the way they transition the football. And so if you can slow that down, which obviously happens in the wet, then teams look poor. Taberner was, unsided. Lobb didn't do a lot. He had a great, start to this season, but didn't do a lot in that game. As we hear Dan cracking a shelter. Yeah, well, you know what? It's about bloody time to crack a shelter. I think so. I might pull mine just next to my thing. But can Freo play in the wet? Not really. I think it's fact, not fiction.
And also, having Lever and May together, I think the stats will show, the numbers will show when they are both in the side at the same time, Melbourne's chances of winning are significantly enhanced. So that is an issue for Fremantle on Friday night. Their forward line was, I think they've kicked, 19, 20 goals in the past 3 weeks. Can you officially say that Flag Mantle is finished?
No, absolutely not, because we have too much merch over behind Dan to sell. BackChatPodcast.com.au/merch. Get around your team, Fremantle. I've, in all seriousness, that's a nice little segue and joke, but you can't get down in the dumps when... Look, I know Melbourne haven't been in the greatest form, but they are the reigning premiers. They are a very good side. We've been saying that on this program for a long time. They've been out of form. They're still a good side.
They're not a good side. They're a very good side. And if you were to put the two teams right now, even before the weekend, who you thought probably were going to make the grand final, Geelong and Melbourne would still be probably most people's minds.
So I know it doesn't go the way that you like it, Freo fans, but if that's going to be what I've heard over the weekend, we can't make it, we can't win it now. You can. There's still 3 weeks out. You can use this game to see what not to do, how to improve, and get better. It's not like they've come through a season and we haven't seen them play good football and how they're going to do it. We've seen them play the very best football, like some of the best in the league. So they just need to find that. Can they? That's the question. But don't let this ruin Flag Mantle hopes, especially here on the Shelter FootyCast.
All I'll say is, and I've said this for a long time, ever since we knew Fremantle was playing some good footy, is Scully gets a top up.
I'd love a refill, thanks, Dan.
No problem. Is it if they ended the season, hopefully with a home final, winning a final, I know you're thinking grander than that, but that would realistically be a big tick from me and a lot of people.
Yeah, you'd love to see them play a home final, wouldn't you? It'd be good for WA footy. You've seen a lot of success with West Coast, seen a lot of big games for the West Coast Eagles, and rightly so, Fremantle. We've seen some big games that they've played in here at home, and it's a very different crowd, Freo on West Coast. I'd love to see a rocking Optus Stadium full of Freo fans, but time will tell. Good luck to them. I still think they can do it. I don't think throw everything out now. They can't do it. That's not where I sit. I'm still pretty positive on them, but they'll need to change some things. So
in a hurry.
That's why I think it's positive, because they were so poor. They at least can go, right, we cannot play like that. We will not beat sides. So this is how we're going to do it. If they go down to Melbourne playing that brand of footy and they lose by 3 goals, they go, maybe we can etch some wins by being really defensive. Clearly, they can't do that, so they need to keep it moving.
Bulldogs, Derby, Giants, got to win 2 of the 3 to obviously keep themselves well entrenched in the 8, but also hopefully sneaking up into a home final.
Big game coming up next week against the Bulldogs for both of those sides. West Coast play the Gold Coast Suns at Metricon Sunday. It was an interesting game. West Coast started really well, then fell away, as we've seen them do a lot. Half-time, they were down by about 5 goals. But they worked their way back into the game. It looked like they threw caution to the wind a little bit and went very close to knocking off the Suns.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack Darling, 6 goals, equal a career high for him. He was outstanding. And at the other end, Marbiot Scholl, who we know he came from the Tigers and never really thought of him as a goal-kicking forward, but he's had
a great year.
He's had a really good year, hasn't he, for them? So some nice moments today. It almost felt, although the margin was only 3 points, like a bit of a garden variety victory for the Gold Coast. They set up their victory in the first half, and then West Coast came back. They showed a fair bit of ticket. Now, whether that's because they thought it's Gaffey's 250th. They're obviously the talent was there to push the Gold Coast team, which is not filled with superstars either.
No, it's not. I mean, I do look at the Gold Coast season and think it's a pity they lost a couple of close games, because if they were a game or 2 in front of where they are right now, they're really challenging Richmond, Bulldogs and Kilda for that 8th spot, and then they're not going to be. There's 3 games left. They're 2 games outside the 8. I don't think they can make it. Some people have said this keeps their hopes alive. I don't think that's true whatsoever.
Although Isaac Rankin, I'm going to say,
gun
superstar. They have to keep him, and we give Cops a bit of a whack himself. But Jack Petruccelli, always the first bloke you want to tip a bucket on if things go wrong for him. And
Yeah.
kick 3 goals and a small forward's role is to kick a couple. So give him a pat in the back for that for sure.
It's funny how that works. I mean, there's just always players in teams that people want to rag on, and Petch is one of those guys at West Coast, and there's a few others in West Coast, but you know them at Fremantle, you know them at every club. I always look at it from an internal point of view. He's highly valued at West Coast by the players and the club because he brings something different. And sometimes guys that do things differently, they don't do everything right all the time. They're not consistent, but that's why they're able to do the freakish things. You know, not everyone can be a Chris Judd or a Gary Ablett and be consistently freakish. Some guys just do freaky things every now and then, and if they can build some consistency in their game as they get older, it's good. But you're not going to see 20 touches a week out of Jack Petch.
But he's got speed, and if that can be used in the correct manner, in a creative manner, whether it's from half back or whether it's in the forward 50, hopefully there's better times for him.
We both picked the Dockers. Cheers for that, Skate. And we both picked Gold Coast. So we're 1 and 2 for the start of the weekend. Let's get into the rest of the round, I think. Collingwood defeat Port Adelaide by 6 points. Collingwood are just doing this for fun now. They're taking the piss. They go, we're not gonna win by 2 goals. We can't do that. Let's just bring it back. Get everyone's hearts going a little bit. 6 points. They beat Port Adelaide. To be honest, Port Adelaide weren't really in this game. Collingwood sort of just felt like they were on top. I just felt like Collingwood were on top, and they held them at hand's length a little bit for most of the game.
Yeah, possibly. Look, the stats say that, well, certainly possession-wise, Port Adelaide had so much more of the footy, lots more handballs. Now, that doesn't justify saying they should have won the game, but
yes.
You're right. There is a mindset element to this where Collingwood know...
Haven't said that word today yet.
They have got, in a tight game, the ability to get across the line. They, I think, led in the last quarter by 2-3 goals. They had to withstand another Port Adelaide fight back. So to win 10 in a row at this level is pretty good. Can they win the flag? I still don't think so. But what they're doing is they're showing us that they've got something to build on, something quite significant, and having Collingwood part of the finals is going to be something spectacular. Jace Burgoyne.
Yes.
First AFL goal, final 2 minutes, cut the margin to 6. So there was, again, tense moments, but for those that backed Collingwood 1-39, as I know a couple of my really close confidants did, then it was a good day at the G.
Geez, you were cheering them along, weren't you? Craig McRae wins 10 in a row in the Collingwood Football Club. First-year coach since Nathan Buckley in 2012. Wow. Nice little stat there from Charlie. I think he's chucked that one in there for us.
Yeah.
So, Craig McRae, Michael Voss, who's had the better year? Take away Carlton's performance on the weekend. Coming into the game, they're on very similar win-losses. You think Craig McRae?
I think McRae, even before the weekend, most people didn't have Collingwood in the 8. In fact, they might have had them bottom 6.
Yep.
Carlton, I think the basis was there, having recruited Shearer with Cripps, etc. You thought, they're going to be, and they've got the 2 big forwards back. So, no, Craig McRae's been outstanding, deserves to be, I think, just about coach of the year.
Yeah, it'd be really close. DeGoey back in the side adds an element that people forget sometimes. It's easy to forget because he's been such a numpty off the field. But what a good player he is. If you just keep that isolated right there, I mean, he's a gun and he can play midfield. He can be dangerous in the forward line. He adds an element that he's hard to match up against.
And so what do you do with Brodie Grundy? I mean, he's being paid a salary which demands he
signed like a 6-year deal or something.
Something like huge. So whether he's there next year is still a matter of conjecture, but they're playing so well without him. And I suppose you'd say, well, if he's fit and ready to go, he's still your best option in the ruck, but is he?
Well, to start this season, he wasn't, no. And that's why they had to bring in Cameron to play alongside him, and then he got injured. And it's been thankfully for Collingwood that he got injured because he wasn't playing the way he could. Now, has he got some desire back? Has he looked not disinterested. He looked sluggish. He looked like he wasn't covering the ground well. He looked like he was lacking confidence. So being out of the side, it's difficult to build confidence when you've been out with an injury, but maybe watching the players go well without him, maybe that lights a fire with him. I don't really know, but maybe. Collingwood gets that done by 6. Who we both pick? Sorry, Dan. Missed that one.
I didn't. There we go. Will, Port, Skeet, Collingwood.
Okay, very good. We'll just move on from that very quickly. Sydney defeat GWS by 73 points. Both tick Sydney bloodbath.
Yeah, you're buoyant about the Swans for good reason, but they've also got a nice run to the end of the home and away. So their top 4 probably not a lock, but they're going to be pretty tough to dislodge, aren't they?
I can't remember, but Were you riding me hard on the Swans?
No.
You're happy with?
I had a big blue with them. Carl at the start of the year on Carl England on 6PR was big on the Giants being top 4. And I said,
yes, unreal.
And
Thank you,
I
Carl.
said Sydney were more a top 4 team for me. Now, I've had my doubts this year. Don't worry about that. I've seen Sydney. They've put in some really weird performances, but the closer we get to the finals...
You've probably had some more doubts about the GWS Giants.
Oh, no, the Giants I never thought. I didn't think they were a top 8 material anyway. But Sydney, and we know the young players have had some super performances. Parker, 34 touches. He's not a young player, but he hits an absolute
He continues
gun.
on.
What about Eric Goulden? 33, 2 goals, 12 marks, 10 inside 50, 692 metres gained.
The thing with Sydney, like they have some of these players like Goulden and even Chad Warner to an extent. They have players that I think because they're in Sydney, some people wouldn't be able to pick them out of a lineup.
No.
And they have a lot of them. There's Ollie Florent pops up. He's a good player. They have these guys that play roles. They can kind of play everywhere. And yeah, I really like them. Mark McVeigh came out and said that the players embarrassed their football club. In
Strong words.
Well, it's the Sydney Derby, so it's the equivalent to the Derby over here, the West Coast Freo, or West Coast rocking up and getting done by over 10 goals. So I think you'd probably hear similar words from Adam Simpson.
But there's too much talent in that GWS side, I would have thought, for them to get beaten by that margin and be sitting in 16th position with 20 points next to their name. They're not going to finish any lower than that because the Eagles are on 8. It's something really strange about that list or the culture. I'm not sure, but...
They don't really have a forward line or a back line or a ruckman, do they?
Well, Bruce came back
like
into the side, but
I heard someone call it on the TV. He's 27 years old and he's played 24 games of AFL. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
he's been across 3 different teams. If he was a good player, he'd be consistently getting a game.
You know what? We're wasting time on a club that's going nowhere. The Sydney Swans, Sam Reid, as a little side man for Buddy, kicked 3 goals. Love his work. Sydney and...
So we both tipped Sydney.
Oh, yeah, it was easy. But I'm just trying to work out what they've got for the next 3 weeks. So
they're in business, Sydney.
They're absolutely. They should be winning all of them. They've got an away game against North Melbourne. Tick. Round 22.
Collingwood.
Is it Collingwood, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be huge. That's at the SCG, though. So
and St Kilda.
That is a blockbuster. And St Kilda they'll be beating, barring a disaster.
Top 4, thanks very much. St Kilda defeat Hawthorn by 12 points. Will picks the Hawks, another one down the gurgler.
Now, you got to get serious. Instead of just being a smart aleck and trying to maybe bait me, how about trying to pick a winner?
I actually... Shut up. I actually can't remember picking the Hawks.
Well, I can because...
You were surprised, were you?
No, Dan
like king of the tips over here, Mark
No, not at all. But don't try and do like a Kane Corn and say something for the sake of it.
No, don't bring Kane's name into it. Please don't do that. Risky, please don't. Look, there was stages in this game I thought I could have come in here and told you to stop taking the piss.
Last 5 minutes.
Yeah, correct.
And it was typically St Kilda. They I think led by 40 points. Max King put some. Is it Max King or Ben King? It's Max King. Max King put some. I think 40 points up last quarter. It was a question of right now the percentage is going to be really important here. They were lucky to bloody win the game.
Yeah, Hawthorn came on and kicked 5 or 6 goals at the end of the game. They lose by 2 goals. They didn't look like they were going to lose, but you could see people in the box getting a little bit rattly up there. I still don't have them. Finishing eighth. But there's other results going on now that they may actually fall into 8th spot, maybe.
The accidental finalists.
But maybe. They finish off their year with some tough games, though. They play Geelong, Brisbane and Sydney.
Yeah, I can't see them making it. And
I can't see them winning another game for the year.
I said they were fake news. That's harsh. But in terms of finalists and contenders, there's been performances this year that I just don't think there's enough substance to them. Look, Marshall was great in the ruck. He was terrific. 30 touches, 9 marks, 9 score involvements. And Jack Steele, as we saw over here in Perth a couple of weeks ago, terrific as well.
Paddy Ryder, when he plays with Marshall has to play more forward. You don't see him dominate games like he did on the weekend. I don't know if Paddy Ryder gets a contract at St Kilda next year again because of that reason. I think it's always great to have a Batman and Robin combination in the ruck, but Paddy Ryder's a ruckman. He's not a forward, whereas Rowan Marshall can play forward. I think for St Kilda to progress, they need to give him the number 1 ruck mantle and say, Paddy, we don't need you anymore.
You still need a backup in that position.
I know, but you can't have Paddy Ryder just sitting on the list playing in the VFL. I don't think that he wants to do that.
No.
I don't think he'd be paid well enough to do that. He's getting old now. I think they need to just go put the chips in. Rowan Marshall's our man.
Yeah, he's a gun. Just needs to stay on the park. And
Jai Newcombe got tagged by Winhager. I found that funny. They've got Jaeger O'Meara, they've got Tom Mitchell, some good midfielders, but they've gone to a rookie mid-season draft pick from last season who's really taken his game to a new level. He kicked 2 goals as well, so
he's impressive. Yeah, so look, Hawthorn disappointing for 3 quarters. I think they kicked 1 goal. I was watching up until the middle of the 3rd quarter, so really weird game. They almost won. They shouldn't have. St Kilda stay in the 8.
Geelong defeat Bulldogs by 28 points. And it was a bit slippery down there in Geelong. There was some important mindset decisions being made down there.
About 45 mindset decisions were made.
You and I were texting during this game. This is the beginning of the game because there was some slipping over. Correct?
Yeah, well, there was. And I agree with you on lots of your mindset rationale, but not the fact that you slip over because your mindset's not right.
Well, it is. I will continue to say that I am correct there.
So lots of players didn't have the right mindset.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Because I look up, right, as I'm texting you about mindset, right? We're back and forth. I look up and I see Paddy fucking Dangerfield changing his boots. He's given Skeet a call and says, Skeet, mate, nothing to do with mindset. I'm changing my boots. So he was putting the long studs on. Whatever I was drinking or eating at the time, I spewed it up.
Could I ask on radio too? I think it was Luke McFarlane and Lee Spur. I mentioned our discussion. And Spurrier said there was something to do with a mix. I said, is it short stops and long stops? He said, there's a mix of something you can use which helps. But anyway, it's
a couple of backmen. Did they have any sort of support for me, or was it all team skate?
No, I didn't get your side of the story, so why should I? And Luke McFarlane never fell over in his career apparently, so he said, yeah.
Does he never play in the wet? Did he never play on a slippery?
No, so it might back up your claim that mindset.
It almost could.
Yeah, it could do. Anyway, we're talking about an issue which really, in the scheme of what this game meant, is very peripheral.
Bulldogs come out, absolutely smacked Geelong in the mouth.
And you got excited.
I did. That's why I was texting you, because I might have just backed the Bulldogs a little bit on Blue Bet. But they just stopped then. Well, I don't know if they stopped or Geelong went into
They tied their self. Look, we saw some of I saw some of the replays at halftime of some of their clangers, and gee, they had some missed moments during the first half. But it's always hard. Team, I think they kicked the first 4. I think they led by the best part of 5 goals in modern day footy, which is exactly what Geelong did to the Bulldogs earlier in the season at Marvel Stadium.
Yes,
you can get back, but it's hard to use up that much petrol. But they did have a big reason, and I go back to what you've said before. Even at quarter time and they're under the pump, I thought, geez, Scully's said this really strongly about Geelong and their desire, their motivation to give milestone champions a match to remember. And as it turns out, they did exactly that for Joel Silver. And Patrick Dangerfield was extraordinary, I thought.
Yeah, it was the best game I've seen him play for a long time now. It must have been the stops, I reckon, he put on. Some positives out of the Western Bulldogs. Jamara Ugle-Hagan spoke about it last week. He's very good with Bruce and Norton in the team because he had I was watching it closely. He kept getting the third defender. He wouldn't get the first key, the second key. He'd get the third defender, and so he came out, played really good football. Cody Waitman's a good player as well. So Ugle-Hagan kicked 2 goals. Cody Waitman kicked 3. Josh Dunkley was spending a fair bit of time forward as well, which was interesting because Treloar was out of the team for the Western Bulldogs. So I thought we might have seen more Dunkley midfield time, but he actually went forward.
Took a really good mark.
Yeah, he did. And he had 25 touches to go with that. But in the end, Geelong's game style, their evolved game style, which we spoke about, they're taking the game on more. And so when they were challenged, it wasn't like they had to go to plan B, we have to take the game on more. They just had to do what they've been doing.
Better.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So there's sometimes as a team, and you haven't been playing that way, and you get down in the game, you try to start making things up, and then it gets even worse. It goes to a 10-goal lead. Whereas Geelong just needed to think, okay, we can do this. We've got the forward line. Our midfield just need to get their hands on the ball, and that's how it turned out in the end. Whoever won that centre clearance got field position, goals kicked, skilled stadium or whatever it's called. GMHBA.
Too good. Yeah,
too good.
And Tom Stewart, I love down back. Just his return to the side is so critical. Joel Selwood, we talked about whether he's the best cat ever, or whether it's Gary Ablett Senior, Junior. I think there's no doubt that he's the best captain ever that Geelong's ever had. The numbers now back that up with the number of wins that he's achieved. And the Bulldogs, who you thought were the movers, are now the groovers, or what?
I think I think I was backing them to lose this game. So although I pumped them up for this game, I think I picked Geelong. I did.
Yeah, but you were very keen on them going north.
I still think they can. They, again, looking at their finish, they finish with some winnable games. Fremantle this week is a really big game.
Yep.
Both sides. Fremantle lose, they can't finish top 4. That may be gone already, but it's still in play. Western Bulldogs lose, I would say 8 done. They can't make finals. So Western Bulldogs have it all on the line. They then finish with GWS and Hawthorn.
Well, they win those two.
Right. So I think to play finals, they have to win this week, right? And so if they win this week, they'll win their last 2 and they win 3 and they'll play finals.
Fair call.
Yep.
Adelaide, Carlton. This was the upset of the round easily.
What's happened? What has happened there? Well, I don't understand. 29 points, Carlton going down to Adelaide. Have Carlton shit the bed a little bit, or what's up?
Well, they put it this way. They look.
You said to me before we got on here, Carlton could miss the 8.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, their run home, having lost there, they've got Brisbane off the top of my head this week. They've got Melbourne, and I'm sure Collingwood's their last game.
Yep.
So
they may not win another game.
If they don't win another game, they're not playing finals, I don't think.
Wow.
Or if they are, they're going to be scraping in and not tracking too well. But that's going a bit ahead. Yeah, that was disappointing in so many ways for Carlton. Fans getting upset. There was a nasty element out of it with Adam Sard apparently accused by, or there was some elements of the crowd calling him a terrorist and stuff that was just unsavoury. But, you know, we all we have to do is educate people, which doesn't work because there's too many idiots out there. But anyway, he's hopefully going to not take too much out of that and can play some good footy for the rest of the season. Brodie Smith, 37 touches. And Ben Keys, now he was the guy that, alongside Fogarty, I thought, really had the sparklers on.
We speak pretty regularly about Adelaide and they don't inspire us much, and we're not, that Adelaide were very good. Their midfield looked good. Keys kicked goals. He kicked 3 goals. And he led what was going on in there. Brodie Smith spent a lot of time in the midfield. He's been a backman by trade, but he does spend time in the midfield now to get some more experience through there. So he has 37 touches, 8 marks, 13 inside 50s. So if you can get your experienced players like that playing well, it does lead the way for the younger guys like a Fogarty or young guys that maybe don't see the wins on the board. You start leading by examples, and then your list suddenly does look better than it is. Oh, Fogarty's good. Oh, Tex Walker's got a few more years to go in him, doesn't he? Ben Keys. The Crouch situation over there is kind of a weird one. They're still not playing him. They're saying, Matty Nix was out during the week saying that they haven't had a discussion about the contract, where people reporting that they basically said he's not playing for the rest of the year and he's done at the end of the year. So I find that an interesting one. He was All-Australian not that long ago, and he can't get a game at the football club, and he's having 40 touches a week in the SANFL. But wins probably keep him out longer. I don't know. But Carlton, disappointing loss for them. Charlie Curnow kicks 2, stays on top of the Coleman medal, I believe. Just a bit of backward step for Carlton for sure.
Huge and unexpected. And look, we do see this with teams that are trying to play finals footy for the first time in a while, and Fremantle's experiencing it. It's just to the back half of the year, it's sometimes difficult to maintain what you did when the sun was shining and the grass was, had a bit of a fast track look about it.
Yep, very good. Richmond defeat Brisbane by 7. I'm actually not quite sure how this happened. I was watching along to this game. Brisbane were all over Richmond. They started very well. Richmond, of course, make their way back into the game, but Brisbane were up by
40 points plus.
Yeah, a lot of points. So we both tipped Richmond, so that's great for us. But I don't know how Brisbane lost this game, and they continue to not to be able to win games at the MCG. They haven't won since 2015.
Yeah, had some chances. Might have even been 2014. Yeah, and was Charlie Cameron, Mitch Robinson had chances late in the game there. Shea Bolton, just outstanding in the absence of Dusty Martin.
He is your boy.
I just think he's...
No, he's your number one in the AFL, I reckon.
Oh, in terms of... He's not the best player, but...
Like watching.
Yeah, he's sort of... Your eyes are drawn to him just because of the way... And he's had some horror moments in front of goal over the past 6 weeks, but 24 touches, 7 marks, 711 metres gained, 9 inside 50s, 12 score involvements. That's a fair
game.
Effort.
That is a game. Shane Edwards plays his 300th game for the club, so...
That's significant. Yep. And even at three-quarter time, they trail by 12 points. Yep. I'm using your methodology here, thinking... It's not like a 50th or 100th. This is a 300-game player.
Yep.
I think only about the 4th or 5th Richmond player to do it. that will get them across the line. And got to admire Richmond. They have been quite easily, I think 7 goals to 2 first quarter. They could have easily dropped their bundle and thought, well, we've cooked our season. They found a way.
So now Richmond, honestly, if Richmond had have won one of their 5 games they lost by under 6 points in the last 8 weeks, they literally would be close to top of the ladder at the moment.
Yeah.
So you say it all the time, they're not a side you want to face in finals. That's 100% correct. They're still playing actually pretty similar footy that they've always played. You know, sometimes you see teams evolve and change, and they're still playing that haphazard footy, that
pressure.
Footy that it actually draws the other team into the pressure. So Brisbane are dominating, but Richmond play this way that it's like they're up by 40, but it seems like they're not. And then they kick a goal, and then they kick another goal, and then the pressure actually comes on, and it just turns into what it turns into. Hipwood kicks 4, Danaher kicked 3. So they had their normal contributors. They just couldn't get it done. I dare say that the Brisbane Lions would have been first to 12 goals in this game, and they lose 104 to 97.
Yeah, it's a Carl Langdon theory, which by and large is pretty right. But Brisbane v Carlton, and we'll talk about it Thursday, but some of these games now are going to have huge significance.
It's always good to see Carl Langdon wrong. 114 to 66, Essendon defeat North Melbourne by 48 points. We both picked the Bombers as predicted. It's an absolute fizzer of the game to finish off the weekend.
Yeah, well, not that much of a fizzer.
Well, it was a complete
if
fizzer.
you had the total points over 172.5, then it wasn't such a fizzer because you watch it right to the death. Now, I don't know what it ended up at, but once I saw it got past
big tick. You had a big grin.
I just turned over the TV and watched John Daly's special. So what was it?
John Daly's special.
Yeah, because I'm not. Yeah, so he loves his
smoking and darts
and
drinking beers
and a chronic gamble. I thought this could be me if I just play my cards right in the next 12 years.
special on your screens.
Anyway, you're right. This game was shite. It was North Melbourne are no good. Essendon, Jake Stringer kicks a handful. They're doing.
Oh, where's he? Like, where shock and awe. Jake Stringer putting his hand up when the season doesn't matter. Honestly, I could take or leave him.
But anyway, Stringer, Jones in attack, kicked a couple of goals. He's okay. Zerha with 4 for the Kangaroos. It was a garden variety victory against a team that North Melbourne are going nowhere this year. I'm talking about, and Bombers. I think we move on.
We're wrapping that up. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings on the Shelter FootyCast. Time to give away a slab of beers, Shelter, XPA, X Factor, WA only though, Fremantle and West Coast. Fremantle, we can't be giving, we thought we'd be giving a lot more Fremantle slabs.
We're giving them donuts.
Absolutely
this weekend.
Nothing. Maybe they might need a couple of quiets, just quiet shelters. Maybe just get more
it's
back
nice
on the
to
same
give
page.
one to a West Coast player because they've been a bit dry, shall we say, this year.
Yes, they have been a bit dry. Now, I watched the game on the weekend, West Coast, Gold Coast. Who was the best of the bunch here? The X Factor, someone who stood up when perhaps one of their normal partners in crime wasn't out there.
Yeah, well, I think goes without saying that 6 goals, 14 touches, 8 marks.
What are you laughing at, Dan?
Jack Darling.
You got something for us, mate? Go on, put yourself on.
You basically gave it to him on a platter who he wanted to pick.
I wasn't asking him who he wanted to pick. I've already picked it.
Yeah, that's okay. I concur with you, by the way. And I don't know, you know Jack better than I. Would he actually, once the season finishes, just give these a drain a few or not?
Yeah, I think he actually doesn't mind a couple of maybe a couple of mixed drinks, but I'm sure he gets into.
Oh, that's soft sort of that.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention any brands because we are here on the Shelter FootyCast.
That's true. But so he's like the cocktail type.
No, not a cocktail. It's just like a cola and a bourbon and cola, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can deal with that.
You having that approved? Mark Redding's a tick of approval.
Just check with John Daly, see if that's what he's drinking tonight as well. No, Jack Darling's great. Deserves to be the Shelter X Factor player.
6 goals, 14 touches, 8 marks, 7 score involvements, 87% disposal efficiency.
That's handy.
It's very easy.
When you're shooting for goal.
Yeah, correct. just kick through the big sticks, Jack. No, very good. Slab of beer coming out your way. Regional footy roundup. If you've got any regional footy stories, send them through to us. You can either send them straight to us at Shelter FootyCast on Instagram or send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au.
Sounds good. Thursday, we've got to. Now you've got to be serious when we have a chat this Thursday about your tips because I think you end up.
Do you want to put something on the line?
We're doing it next year. Well,
No. What about just a once off round?
A once off round. So
whoever, double.
You land a half quarter after doing nothing all season, and I cop it.
What do you want me to do? You're challenging me. I'm saying, would
Just
you like
saying, just lift your game. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't have to be anything on it, although I know you jump at the chance.
Okay. No, I will beat you in tipping this week.
I hope you do, because you've let a lot of people listen to your selections given your background as a footballer, and now you're coming up with Hawthorn to win, Port Adelaide. You need to show us your better side, a better version of Will Schofield.
Oh, well, if you want your tips right, just follow along with Mark Reddings on social media. They will surely send you in the right direction. That's it, done and dusted. See you next week.